Hello dear friends, I hope you can hear me. It's pretty windy out today. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in Ohio, and I'd love to share with you what we've been talking about this week at our dojo. This is the stuff that I believe is the depth of martial arts. Many of us out there, yourself included I'm sure, we train every week at our dojo, but do we have the depth and the philosophy that goes behind the physical part? That is what I've been searching for all my life, and I found it luckily when I was about 12 years old, and I've been following it ever since, questioning it, using it in practice and theory in my life. It's a spiritual path, but it's not a religious path. So I found that the people that I talk to and teach this to, they can use it in their particular cultures and religions or countries, wherever they train. It's just a wonderful 5-point system that I'm going to go over that's very ancient, nothing new though. It's been around forever. But these are 5 states of mind that I try to work on daily to keep aware of and try to improve upon so that I can be just a bit better than I was yesterday. I fail all the time to remain in these states of mind, but I do, at least from my training, recognize when I'm in that state of mind, or paradoxically, if I'm actually in it, I'm actually not in it. Because if you're thinking about it, you're not in it. But let me go over them really quickly for you, okay? Or maybe they're not going to be so quick. So these are the 5 states of mind that I learned when I was about 12 years old. And again, I've been following them ever since. And they're really, really cool. Again, this is what separates our martial art from others, is the philosophy with the physical. You have to balance that out. It really would get very boring if you just trained in physical martial arts and had no mental training to go with it. The first one is called Shoshin, and Sho means new or first, and Shin in this case means either mind, heart, or even could call it a spirit. So Shoshin is having to do with the excitement of having a beginner's mind. A beginner's mind meaning the first time that you discover something. You are so excited. We are excited to learn. We never get bored. We are always enthusiastic about our training. It has to do with potentiality in everything that we study. And the act of learning something new, education, is Shoshin. When I first started martial arts, I was about 8 years old, and I'm still just as excited 42 years later. Whenever I go to the dojo and I train, I'm still inquisitive. I still get excited when I put my uniform on. When I teach or I'm a student, it never ever goes away. And the reason why most people quit is because they don't maintain the Shoshin excitement of learning new things. And that doesn't mean perfection. It means that we make constant mistakes. I make mistakes every single day. But the excitement to fix the mistakes is where it's at. That's the potentiality I'm talking about with Shoshin. So it's the readiness to learn some new endeavor, to get excited about it, and to maintain that excitement with what I call the mind of a child. If you ever watch a child with a new toy, he or she is very excited to learn. They make these noises because they're really happy. That's what life is about exploring new things before our time is up. And Shoshin martial arts is getting ready to train and then enjoying the learning process, never becoming bored, always seeing that there's more to learn, knowing that there's no such thing as mastery in the martial arts. It's always something I strive for and know that I never will get there, but having fun exploring new techniques and new ways of defending yourself and new ways to go through life and dealing with all the issues in our lives and getting excited about finding the answers, that is the Shoshin spirit or the Shoshin mind. It literally is a beginner's mind. And it's not like it's a low level. All of these 5 that I talk about are equal. And you can work on these one a week or once every day, or you can try to maintain all 5 states in a constant way. It's almost impossible to do. And again, that's what makes this Shoshin so exciting. So in Shoshin, with the martial arts, I don't want to say that this is the white belt level. It isn't, because the Shoshin heart goes well into the higher degrees of black belt. But I get excited when I'm a student and I have teachers around and I learn new things. And my job with this Shoshin mind is to steal the techniques from them. Meaning I take copious notes on what we're learning. I go home and I study them. I grab my friends and we train through it. We are skeptical of the techniques, constantly evolving them. We listen to what our teacher says, and half the time we ignore it, or we're not ready to hear the deeper meaning that he or she is talking about. And then later on, a light bulb goes off when you're ready to finally hear it. It could be 2 years later, 5, 10 years later. And that's that Shoshin. It's that little light bulb that goes off, and that excitement to say, wow, I learned something new today, and tomorrow I get to go back and do it again. This is what keeps us out of the mundanity of regular life, which is just going to work, coming home, day goes to night, and there's really nothing we're striving for. There's no education to get us excited, and this is what makes me still to this day, in 2020 now, I'm still just as excited as I was in 1978. And I see it in new students a lot, and the people that are still with me after 15 years or more are the ones that still have Shoshin in their heart. They have the spirit of learning, the spirit of beginning, fresh, new, excited, full of potential, full of excitement, and there is no boredom in that equation at all. The second state of mind that we can pay attention to is called Mushin, M-U-S-H-I-N. And mu in Japanese in this case means like emptiness, no thought, no preconceived notions in the moment. This is a hard state of mind to attain, but we glimpse it when we're in our training. Yesterday I had a couple cases of it where students are coming at me with swords. I have to dodge the sword and take control of the person. Your uke forces you to be in mushin. So in training, when you're focused, when you're defending yourself, when punches and kicks are coming at you, you're not in the past and you're not in the future. You are fixed in the moment. This is the mushin state of mind. And we can encounter this not just in martial arts. You can encounter it by watching a movie. Have you ever watched a movie? You can probably think of dozens of them on your DVD shelf, where the movie transforms you, it transports you into a different universe, and you're not thinking about paying the bills or what's for dinner. You are fixed in the movie. The acting, the writing is so good, the direction is so good, the cinematography is so good, the audio, the music, it just transforms you. You're in mushin when you're in that movie, and it brings out the emotion. You cry when that scene comes up or when this character dies. That's mushin. You can find this in video games. You can find this all the time. We find this in music. Music is very powerful. In love, all of these states of mind are just things to pay attention to. And mushin in the martial arts is what, Bruce Lee would call be the water. Remember, he used to say, empty your thoughts, empty your mind. Be like the water. Be water, my friend. That was a famous quote of Bruce Lee, and it's not Bruce Lee's. It comes from Taoism and Buddhism and all these Eastern philosophies, but it's not a religious thing. It's something that you can put inside your religion, whatever your culture might be. These 5 points are a blueprint for what we strive for in everyday life, and it doesn't matter where you came from, what culture you're from, whether you do train or you don't train. You can still take this philosophy and make it work. And that's again what I love about this stuff, is the philosophical side of martial arts is so rich and important. And when I was 8 or 9 and I found my first martial art, it had no philosophy in it, and it got boring really fast. It was just pound and ground, and it had no balance to it. It was completely full of machismo and just just brutality, but it had no higher level of things I could strive for. And when I found Budo, it had so much depth, so much philosophy, 10 lifetimes worth of learning. And that's why today I'm still doing this, is because these 5 points have taught me you can never master anything. You will always be just out of reach of perfection. So far from it that you can't possibly get bored in your training. It's impossible to become this fully actualized human being. I don't believe anyone can, but I do believe that we can strive for it, and that is what makes in my opinion, a healthy and happy and really rich and meaningful life, is striving for perfection but never actually getting there. It's always just over the horizon. And Mushin is when you trust in your training. It's like Luke, when Obi-Wan was saying, Luke, use the Force, Luke. Remember that? Luke had that one shot to get the torpedo to blow up the Death Star. Luke was in Mushin in that point. He let all of his thoughts go. He let all of his regrets go. He let all of his worries of the future go, and he just pushed that button at the right time, and it was the perfect time. That is Mushin. You've done the repetitions in martial arts so many thousands of times that they're no longer something you have to think about. They are imprinted in you. They are muscle memory. And martial arts, as we know, is a diminishing skill. If you don't keep up with it, it will go away. You will rust, and you'll almost revert back to when you started. So if you stop training, that skill quickly rusts and goes away. But this Mushin is when you're training and you're on the quote-unquote top of your game. People are coming at you and trying to take you down and hit you, and you just move like the wind. And those who are consistent in training will glimpse this on occasion. I saw just yesterday in class a student go into Mushin when we were doing a test, and they were just in a beautiful state of mind. It was like poetry in motion. It was true Tai Jitsu. It was awesome to watch. And it's rare to see, but it does happen. But we strive for it. We strive for Mushin. And again, I find it when I'm in the studio playing guitar or singing, spending time with someone I love, being out here in beautiful nature, just enjoying the moment is probably the best place we can be in life. Now let's talk for a second about Zanshin. Zanshin, most of you already know, means lingering intention from your martial art training. However, in the Chinese connotation, Zan can mean like injured or hurt or destroyed. So there are scrolls out there where the Zan part is like regretful, destructive, or destroyed, and then Shin could mean heart. So it could be a destroyed heart or a regretful heart for things that could have been. But that's not how we mean it. We mean it in the positive sense. Zan Shin, in this particular case, Zan means being prepared, connected, lingering, something that keeps going. So the spirit or the heart or the mind of connectivity, the mind that keeps going. And this is what we mean after our physical training, like we did last night in class. Once the technique is over, you have to have even more awareness than before. The threat is over, the direct threat. The danger we perceive is over for the moment, but there could be more coming. This is where the old samurai get the phrase, after the battle you want to tighten your helmet straps. Obviously by that they mean that there's another battle coming and it could be worse than before. So never take down your guard, always be prepared for what's coming next. In the martial arts, after we finish the opponent, we tap them out or we do what we need to. We call 911, we get distance, we see if he's conscious. Is he going to pull a weapon out? Does he have a brother around the corner that's going to attack us? This is that connection to your surroundings, connected toward what might happen in the future, and being darn well prepared for what might happen. Those of us with the pandemic that went on, some of us were caught completely off guard and some of us were very prepared for it. You know, we always make fun of the preppers out there as nut jobs, don't we? But some of them were really prepared for this. They stocked up on food and water, and they could go weeks or months without any contact with the community. So that is Zanshin in a positive sense. Now you can go overboard with that and become too crazy, too much afraid of what could be. You become agoraphobic. You don't even want to go outside. You peek through your blinds at night because you always think someone's out to get you. So the over-preparedness that you might have, or we might have, turns negative. And it becomes where you're just so afraid of everybody and everything. You don't trust anybody. You're always afraid of, you live in fear. And that's the bad part of Zanshin. So all of these 5 states of mind have a positive and a negative side to them. It's a coin. And our job is to be aware enough to know what state we're in, what state we need to work on, and what state we have flipped from the positive to the negative. I'm becoming too extreme at one or the other, and I want to balance it out in the middle where I can be most comfortable and get the most things done. But Zanshin could even be as simple as you go to Walmart and you're aware of your surroundings. You know that you don't want to park your cart in the middle of the aisle, which the annoying person always does, right? You're just aware of your space and surroundings. You might be aware of a sale that's going on. That could be Zanshin. You're aware of the parking lot and who could be around, where you park your car under the light rather than in the darkness. Just aware of everything. That's Zanshin. And the samurai were very good at that. Many, countless stories that I've read about the samurai being in Zanshin, where just watch the Lone Wolf and Cub series. That's all about Zanshin. Matter of fact, his Zanshin is so connected that he actually can hear danger. In the soundtrack of those films when, I can't remember his name, Tomosaburu Wakayama or something, he was actually the brother of Zatoichi. Anyway, when danger was approaching him and his child, you could actually hear a tone in his head, like a ringing, like a bell sound, and it got more intense as the danger drew nearer. As the bad ninja or samurai was approaching him in his campsite, he could actually hear the sound, which meant, hey, something's about to happen. He had supreme Zanshin through his sword training. And that's something we all attain to have. I believe people that train in martial arts, and I've seen it, witnessed it, experienced it, they have a really good sense of who is a creep, their creepometer goes off, and who has good intentions. I have heard many stories of students that have felt like something was wrong at a party or a gathering or at a store, and they just felt like they had to get out of there. Well, their Zanshin has been heightened by their physical training. Remember that martial arts are a diminishing skill, and if you don't train, these states of mind will go away over time. They will rust. And then your Zanshin becomes the negative side, which is the Chinese meaning of Zanshin. Now, how can I have Zanshin in my relationships? Zanshin at work might mean that you are ready for the next task at hand. You are very good at working with other people. You can see that regardless of how successful or how this particular thing fails, you want to look forward into the future. How can you grow and serve your company to be better than it was last year? Zanshin in a relationship would be, how can I communicate with my loved ones so that tension doesn't build up? If my wife is angry at something, can I communicate it rather than just brushing it over? You know, there's no such thing as getting upset about the laundry or the dishes. It's always a deeper issue. It's a deeper issue. And if I don't communicate with her, what's going to happen is you're going to go into the Chinese Zanshin, which is I'm going to regret and my heart will hurt for what could have been. The relationship was destroyed because we disconnected, we didn't communicate, and we fell apart. And then you're in that regretful heart, which is another way of saying Zanshin. But in most cases, I mean it as after the battle, tighten up your straps, more could be coming. Sure that you haven't heard about the pandemic on the news recently, but it could flare up at any moment. That's Zanshin. Knowing what could be. Preparing financially in Zanshin is having a rainy day fund. Not going out to eat or buying too much frivolous stuff, but putting your money toward a savings account in case something like a pandemic happens again. And it will happen again. We've learned a lot from this. In this aspect, our Zanshin should be better than before because we're preparing, we're seeing, we're experiencing, and I want to be aware of the future, yet not be afraid of it. I'm excited about the future, positive, always positive. But I know that things can go wrong at any moment, and that is why we train. We train to prepare for what might be. And if it doesn't happen and there's no danger and no bad things happen, great, I still prepared for it. Okay, so that's a little bit on Zanshin in the martial way. This philosophical approach to how to balance my physical training with mental things that I can constantly work on and become a little bit better at than I was yesterday. Never attaining perfection, but trying my darndest to at least step one step ahead than I was yesterday. And we have the mindset of Fudoshin, the samurai spirit of immovability, imperturbability, unshakable faith and power. This is the samurai state of so much training has happened that the samurai cannot be shaken by words or threats or even physical attacks. This is something we all strive for. The weak child in us who was bullied looks for the state of Fudoshin, to stand up for ourselves, to repel back the aggression that came toward us, to fight back, to stand up. This is about the little guy in the fight that stands up to the big dog. This is Fudoshin, and it's happened in every war you can imagine. The positive side of Fudoshin is strength. It is resoluteness. You are the stone from which others gather their power from. You become the leader in the room rather than the coward who runs away. You are the one that stands up on the front line where others stay at home. You may protest where others sit in silence. This is Fudoshin. Fudo, immovable on the negative side, is when your mind is so set and fixed in its ways that you cannot be open to new ideas and new concepts, therefore you never grow. And you end up withering and dying on the vine. So this immovable state is, I am so indoctrinated in my beliefs as a child that I cannot even be a skeptic about them. I can't possibly learn new things. I'm an old dog with no new tricks. So this is Fudoshin in a negative sense, and we all fall into this trap. We watch news channels, we hear from our friends, we get in our little tribes and our little circles of friends, our bubbles, and we no longer can see their point of view. And we become very ignorant to anyone else's point of view, which could very well be correct, and we could definitely be wrong in our view. But we're so unshakable in our view that we can't even turn the light on ourselves and see our own mistakes and how we continue to make them. It's very easy for us to surround ourselves with people who agree with us all the time. These are called yes men. And my gosh, in the martial arts, there are a lot of yes men around. Yes, sensei, whatever you wish, sensei. I've seen so many. The leaders tend to be a little bit more of the ones who can follow their own path, and they don't need a support system. They become autonomous. This is Fudoshin. Fudoshin in a relationship would be that you are strong with your partner and you're going to get through anything. That is the Fudoshin mindset in a relationship. I love her so much that I will do almost anything for her. I will listen and communicate and respect her wishes. I will make her life as pleasant as possible. I will be there for her and my family and my children. This is Fudoshin. I'm going to be the father figure that I always wanted to be, that perhaps my own father wasn't to me. These things, these cycles can be reversed with some thought. Very interesting. Fudoshin could be the head of a family. You are the grandfather that everyone looks to the answers to. You become the Yoda that Luke looks up to. This is Fudoshin, and it's a really cool thing to pay attention to. Sure, most of the time it's much easier not to be in a state of Fudoshin, to look away, to cower back, to hide. It's a much easier state, and many people go through life like this, myself included. But when is it time to stand up and say, this is enough? No more. I will no longer be a victim to you. I will no longer be a slave to the master. I will no longer accept this in my life. I will no longer accept this in everyone's life. But you have to be careful, because all of these have a flip side to them. None of this is black and white. It's quite gray in many areas. Because I can think that I'm right, and I'm resolute, and I am perfect, and I'm good, and I know everything, and my gosh, we turn around and we find out that we were dead wrong, and we regret it. So we have to be very careful that we cannot be skeptical anymore. It's so hard, because you're like, well, Mr. Norcross, what the heck am I supposed to believe? Sure, I think I'm right in my views. I have maybe faith in my position. But faith without evidence is no good. So how can I be sure that my belief system and what I believe right now is good? Because 10 years ago I didn't believe that. And 10 years from now, maybe I won't believe what I believe now. So how can I be resolute and strong in my convictions and my positions when tomorrow I could change my mind? This is what makes it so hard. This is what makes these things endless learning. And that's what's so exciting about it. That's the Shoshin part. I'm so excited to know that none of this is perfect. And it's enough of a task in my life to try to figure these things out and how to deal with them and make them work and keep them on the positive side rather than the negative. It's really hard work. But this is what makes it exciting. This is what makes martial arts so deep. And I'm so sad for those out there who don't have this in their training. They just hit bags and things and roll around on the floor. And there's no philosophical stimulation that goes with it. You want to have the fortune cookie after the delicious meal. You want to have a Yoda in your life who can help you through things. And I've always sought out teachers in my life who had that. You know? The Bruce Lees of the world, those who inspired us to become martial artists in the first place. Because my gosh, when you're 20 years old, you think you know everything with your arrogance, and you don't know squat. You have to go through the ringer a little bit. Those are my friends who have been in the military who said, oh my gosh, when I went to boot camp, I thought I knew everything. And then they knocked me down. And then I went to war, and I came back a changed man. And I saw how violent the world could be. A veteran of 20 is not the same as the veteran of 50. Very, very different people. Same with the martial arts. When I started martial arts as a child, I knew nothing. And yet 50 years later, I still feel like I know nothing, yet I know a lot. And that's the Shoshin part. And perhaps the Mushin state of not knowing is connected to this. I think all of these are connected. None are better than the other. They're just 5 ways of looking at our life and trying to improve it. So Fudo Shin, so strong, number 13, that nothing can disturb our peace of mind. No insult that is hurled at us, no punch can get through our shields of defense. That is Fudo Shin, the little guy standing up to the big guy. Fudo Shin. Now we come to the 5th stage, or the 5th conflict of the mind, and this is called Sen Shin. I think Sen in this case, if I'm not mistaken, means to purify or to clean or to cleanse the heart, to cleanse the mind. Even though I did say these aren't equal, this would be the pinnacle of the other 4 and the hardest to possibly attain. I don't know anyone who's ever attained this state, but I'm sure that several humans have at least glimpsed it. This is what is called enlightenment. Now, what is enlightenment to you might be very different than what it means to me. Enlightenment for some people is harmony with the universe, pure bliss, seeing with the eyes of God. These would be analogies to what enlightenment might mean. For some, it just means wisdom, For some, it just means wisdom combined with happiness. For some, it's just merely contentment. It is about having the wherewithal to let things go and to be as it was supposed to be. Now that could sound like a lot of mumbo jumbo. From the teachings that I've experienced and the books that I've read and working with the Dalai Lama and other Tibetan monks and Japanese Zen priests, they have just told me it's the state of, it's like all the others combined. It's Mushin, it's Shoshin, it's Zanshin, it's Fudoshin, become Senshin. It's really hard to explain because I don't experience it. I think I've glimpsed it once or twice in certain states of mind, but it's not something that I really believe you can stay in for very long. Perhaps it doesn't even exist and I'm delusional about it. But because I keep saying, and I think it is true, that these are states of mind, or what we call the conflicts of your mind, are the states that we cannot really stay in for very long. They're like islands that you sail to. You spend a little time there and you go off to the next island. But perhaps it's the ocean that the islands sit on. Maybe that's Senshin. To me, enlightenment, well, you have to define the terms. What does enlightenment mean to you guys? And what does it mean to me? Enlightenment to me just means it's not anything lofty. It's just being. It's just being there, being present in the moment. In my case, is enlightenment. It's not like you're floating and meditating and levitating and doing all this stuff. To me, it's just pure bliss, pure happiness. It's like a state of consciousness where there are no preconceived notions, no judgment, no thought. You're just in the moment. That's why I believe all of us have glimpsed it at some point. Now, some say you have to do drugs to get there. You have to pray your way there. You have to try to pull in the supernatural to get there. Maybe through alcohol or drug. I don't know. I'm no expert. But I do believe it means harmony. When you think about cleansing the mind, cleansing the soul, cleansing the heart, getting rid of hatred, getting rid of judgment. To me, it's about what we jettison away, what we throw away, versus what we hold on to. Maybe Senshin itself is not holding on to anything. Maybe it's like floating in one of those tanks where you're suspended in heavy salt water and you just, a sensory deprivation tank. You don't feel anything. Maybe that is enlightenment. I'm not quite sure, but I hope it's out there. I hope it's something that we can strive toward. But again, I don't know if anyone ever really gets there or if they're just lying to their followers. I'm really not sure about that. It could also mean Senshin is a state of not being pulled down into the trenches. We are above the fray rather than being part of the fray. We can see beyond conflict and look at the bigger picture here. Maybe that is Senshin. Maybe it's being able to see both sides of the argument, understand them, and kind of come to grips with what is. So for me, Senshin is avoiding conflict at all costs whenever possible. If I need to go into a state of Fudoshin and stand up for myself, defend my life, to protect me, my loved ones, my community, my neighbors, sure, I'll do that. But if the community is running in a good way, then Senshin is already in existence. And perhaps what we say and what we do creates a state of enlightenment around us. I think silence creates Senshin. When we can clear ourselves, like when you wake up and you haven't really had any thoughts enter your head yet, and you're truly just lying there in the bed, that's Senshin, I think. Senshin could be the climax of your favorite song, perhaps, is Senshin for a brief moment. The birth of your child for the first time could be Senshin. Your first kiss could be Senshin. At one with death could be Senshin. And I don't believe Senshin is just positive or negative. I think it's all those things. But Senshin is a really, I believe, hard concept to even explain to anybody because, again, I'm no expert and I don't know if the glimpses that I've had were it or just, again, myself deluding myself. I'm just not sure. How can we have compassion for people rather than sowing discord? That's a hard one because you want to stand up for what you believe is right. But at the same time, you want peace in the world and harmony because people will live happier lives. People won't die. But sometimes the cause demands that stuff. It demands that we stand up. Through my sword training, through my martial art training, conversations, deep conversations with good friends, I think that Senshin, at least the borders of it can be found. But I certainly haven't dedicated my life enough to meditation to attain a sustainable state of Senshin. I haven't. And again, perhaps a few monks in a cave, or the Dalai Lama, or a few other select few have attained it. I'm just not sure. My skeptical part of my brain says no, it's not possible. Because we are humans, so to attain some sort of deity state of mind, or enlightened state of mind, or godlike state of mind, I don't know if that's possible. I love this stuff. I don't know about you guys, but this is what life is about. Life is about learning. Life is about trying new things and using our brains to their full capacity. There's so much pain out there and suffering and anger. Can we free ourselves from that stuff? I don't know. My martial art training has been such an important part of my life, as it is with most of you watching. Obviously you like martial arts or you wouldn't be here right now. And why I never quit in all these decades, I don't know. I don't know. Perhaps it's the Shoshin, beginner mind. Perhaps it's my stubbornness, my Fudoshin on the negative flip side. Perhaps it's my Zanshin and my hopes that I can protect all of the people that I love as well as myself. Perhaps it's just Mushin and I'm in a sunk cost fallacy and I just do it because it's worked for me all my life and it's made me succeed in this part of my life. I don't know. Or perhaps it's the pursuit of Senshin, which I know deep down I'll never find before I die. Either way, life is going to go on for all of us. We're going to turn this off and go back into reality. And maybe it's going to be a bit more fun tomorrow if we work on one of these 5 principles of Budo. I hope all of you out there are safe, happy, and healthy, and that I have given you something to think about in the future. We'll see you all next time. I really appreciate you watching. Continue your training, and I hope to see you very, very soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.